Welcome to our online experience here at The Well. I'm Alyssa, and I'm one of our Kids Zone leaders. We are so glad you're here with us. We believe God is going to do something special today as we meet live. We're going to get into our message for today in just a few minutes, but before we do, we wanted to let you know a bit about us. We're a church in Nashua, New Hampshire that cares deeply about our city and about helping our friends and neighbors know and follow Jesus. We believe His love is greater than anything else we can experience and inspires us to live differently for the sake of our world. Whether you consider yourself a person of faith or not, we want you to know that you belong at The Well. In fact, we often repeat, "No perfect people allowed," because none of us are. So here's what we invite you to do. Number 1, get a cup of coffee, sit back, and breathe. In a season where our world is full of fear and anxiety over the coronavirus, we want you to truly relax and enjoy this experience. Number 2, invite a friend to join you through an online watch party. Number 3, share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd also love to connect with you. Just text "new to the well" to 97000 and we'll get a conversation started. Share a little about yourself and how we can connect with you. We're not going to show up at your house or sell your info. We're just going to start an online conversation to help you know more about who we are as a church and how you can take a next step with us. To help you engage with the message today, we encourage you to take advantage of our online message notes. You can access them by clicking the link below called Message Notes in an app called YouVersion. There, you'll also find a link to our phenomenal kids videos in partnership with Orange Curriculum that help kids know more about the love of God through engaging songs and stories. Finally, in this time of need, we realize it puts many families in a vulnerable place. Many kids in our city depend on the free or reduced meal plans for their food during the week, and with our schools closed, they don't have the kind of access they previously had. So we're partnering with End 68 Hours of Hunger in Nashua to help provide essentials like boxes of instant oatmeal, canned fruits and veggies, individually wrapped snacks like popcorn, granola, and peanut butter crackers, boxes of cereal, and instant pancake mix. If you are interested in helping with this, let us know in the comments below, and we'll help you know more details about how you can contribute and make a difference. Again, we're so glad you're with us today. We hope you enjoy your online experience, but we hope even more to meet you in person soon. For now, welcome to our message for today from Pastor Scott.
Well, good morning, everybody. So glad that you're with us today. We're really excited to be live streaming. Man, even 20 years ago, we would not have been able to do this. A lot of you are stuck inside your home with all this social distancing thing and the coronavirus going crazy. So we're really glad that you can tune in with us. Shout out to Tom, Nguyen, and Elizabeth Parks, John and Cindy DiPalato, Josh Yoder, Chris Brady. Glad you guys are online. Here, do me a favor. We are watching a live stream with YouTube and Facebook. Do me a favor and invite people to join you in this. We're really excited about today. We're going to talk about friendship, and I think it's probably more important now than ever to talk about this in a season of social distancing. So don't let people be isolated. Invite them into the conversation. Share emojis, and you have my permission in church to have conversations, all right? We're going to have a lot of fun today. So give us some love in whether you're watching or not, and again, invite people to join us in this watch party. Well, we were in the middle of a series called Un-Complicate, talking about love, dating, and relationships, when all of a sudden the coronavirus just hit, boom, and it dropped a bomb. And so we took a break from that last week and talked about how not to be afraid. We had to go directly into this coronavirus thing. And it's important. It's caught all of us. None of us are left unaffected in this. So the craziest thing this week is that all of us are experiencing some crazy social distancing. And as hard as all of that is, kids being stuck at home, parents not sure about work situations, whether you're going to get paid or not, and all the craziness, what I thought, it's really important to keep our humor lighthearted in this moment. You know what I'm saying? Not to just disconnect from it all, but to stay lighthearted. So here's some of my favorite social distancing memes that I've seen over the past week. So Social distancing has even impacted the cartoon world. Poor Where's Waldo. Check out this Where's Waldo post. Oh, man. Look, he can't even hide himself in this social distancing. People are paying attention to Where's Waldo in a different way now, too. Now, our neighborhoods are looking a little bit different, right? Mom is hanging out with some other people in the neighborhood in a different way. Check out how social distancing is impacting neighborhoods here when... Oh, look at that. Look, they're hanging out and they're just 6 feet away from each other. Awkward. But it's not awkward for some people, right? You know, some of the introverts in the room, like, you're loving this. This social distancing thing is not a bummer. Like, you're loving this. So check out this social meme on social distancing for introverts. Yeah, like you're thriving in this moment, right? Stay away from me. I'm loving my alone time. Others of you, man, you're rebelling in this moment. Like, you know, the government saying, hey, social distancing, get away from each other, at least 6 feet. But you're acting a little bit more like Australia, right? This is you. You're hitting the beach, you know, you're partying it up, you're getting outside. Now, serious word on this. Look, this might be a little funny, but it's not funny. We got a younger church, and we know that the stats are saying that the coronavirus doesn't hit the younger generation as much as it does the older generation. And I just want you to know we have a responsibility, guys. We've got a responsibility to take care of those who are more vulnerable in this. It may not hit you, but that doesn't mean you don't have a part to play in this. We've got to respect social distancing to care for the vulnerable in this. But here's a last one, okay? Some of you, you're gym rats, you've been going to the gym, and you can't work out with your buddies like you used to in the gym. And so here's a quick video, a little tip on how you can stay fit even in social distancing. Check this out. All right, so just so you know, that was me and Josh doing our little aerobic dances and all that. We're really into that stuff. So anyway, look, some of the stuff might be a little bit funny, but let's get serious. Social distancing is making it more difficult to stay connected, right? A lot of us are stuck inside our homes, and so we've got to try to figure out how do we keep up with our friendships. So today what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the Word of God, and we're going to talk about how to discover, how to create, and how to develop our friendships. And this has not only been important to talk about right now in the middle of this social distancing and the coronavirus, but it's something important to talk about in general, because the reality is friendships have been harder and harder to maintain for a little while now. Here's what could be said about the Western world. We're maybe more connected now more than ever, you know, with stuff like emails, texts, FaceTime, Zoom, social media, Skype, Instagram. Like we could be said to be more connected now more than ever, but yet more disconnected at the same time. The average American has over 300 Facebook friends, and yet studies are showing that the average American has 2 or less people that they consider close enough to share really personal things. According to the American Sociological Review, a quarter of Americans, that's 80 million people, say they have 0 close friends. None. That's staggering. I mean, talk about 80 million people. That's how many are on lockdown in some of the states right now because of all this. That's a huge portion of the population, 80 million people. Loneliness has become an epidemic. The Cigna Health study back in 2018 said that 46% of Americans feel chronically lonely on a daily basis. Now, we could try to guess on why this is happening. We could talk about the mobility in our society, the work commutes, separating neighborhoods from workplaces, to moving across countries to work, to, you know, all sorts of different things. But the reality that we have to own is that people are feeling more and more lonely. That's a reality. And so we have to ask ourselves, well, what do we do with this? Now, in the middle of social distancing and this whole coronavirus, I think we have an opportunity. I asked some friends this week to reflect a little bit on some of the challenges with social distancing, but maybe some of the opportunities, some of the encouragement that they could receive. And so this is what Dave and Steve said. Go ahead and check out their video.
I think one of the things that's been so difficult about this is just the career and job impact. I know for me personally, My company does a lot of overseas dealings, and of course there's a lot of uncertainty there. And the reality is, for a lot of people right now, they're going to be affected long-term by this economic impact, and that's kind of the big concern for me.
One of the things we were drawn to when we came to the well was community. That was something we were looking for, and no surprise, with social distancing, community is much more of a challenge. Still possible with intentionality, obviously different, but just that shift, I would say, is definitely a challenge for us.
I do think one of the positives that I take away from this, when you look at what God could possibly do, is that it's really given a lot of purposefulness to communities, and I think a lot of us now understand how important it is to be purposeful about socially communicating and just getting together and talking about God's Word with people and encouraging each other. And I think the fact that we've come together on these online platforms and actually made a point to do that has been a very positive experience during this whole thing.
So as our friends Dave and Steve are pointing out here, we do have an opportunity. Yes, it's harder, but the opportunity is this, that we're forced to get more intentional. We're forced to connect with people in intentional ways because a lot of us are on lockdown, okay? So what does that look like? What does it look like to actually create, develop, and really maintain great friendships? Well, we're going to open the Word of God. So if you have your YouVersion app, that's where we're going to be. If you haven't downloaded it yet, we should have a link in the comment section below where you can go ahead and actually open that up and follow along in our message notes for today, where you can even fill in the blank, add your own notes and all that. It's a really great online interactive way to stay active in the Word of God. That's where we're going to be. But we're going to look at a particular friendship in the Bible that could be said is one of the best. It's between David and Jonathan. David and Jonathan forged a friendship back, thousands of years ago that we can still take incredible pointers away from. So if you have that app, here's the first thing that I want us to write down, okay? First thing, we're invited as we look at this friendship to trade the search for friends for a bigger divine purpose. Trade the search for it, meaning don't just look for friends as if, man, I'm lonely, I need some friends around me, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this sense of loneliness, I just got to find friends. Trade that for being a part of something bigger than yourself. You want to be about a bigger divine purpose, and when you're connected to something bigger than yourself, you're going to naturally have people join you and want to be friends with you. So this is what 1 Samuel 18, 1 through 4 says in the New Living Translation. After David had finished talking with Saul, he met Jonathan, the king's son. Saul was the king, Jonathan was his son, and something went down where Jonathan looked at David and said, I want to know more about this David guy, and I'll tell you why in just a second. There was an immediate bond between them, it says, for Jonathan loved David. From that day on, Saul kept David with him and would not let him return home. And Jonathan made a solemn pact. In other versions, you could read covenant. Jonathan made a solemn pact with David because he loved him as he loved himself. Jonathan sealed the pact by taking off his robe and giving it to David together with his tunic, sword, bow, and belt. So the biggest takeaway for you today is if you want to be friends with someone, go ahead and take off some of your clothing and give it to some of your friends. Just kidding. That's not what's going on. That's really awkward. So what is actually happening in this moment is that Jonathan saw something in David that said, man, I want to be like him. I want to be with him because I see something inside of me, a bigger purpose that I long for, a passion inside of me that's in the same thing in there. Why? What happened? Well, we all know the story of David and Goliath, right? The two warring parties of Israel and the Philistines were battling together, and then this giant came out on the field and said, man, I dare any one of you in the Israelite camp, go ahead, come face me. And this guy was massive. He's probably like 9 feet tall. He said, let's go one-on-one, and anybody who defeats me wins the whole war. We'll be your servants if you beat me. Everyone's scared to death. They will not do it. They're shaking in their boots, except for one guy, David. And he wasn't even on the battlefields at the time. He was a shepherd taking care of his sheep, coming to just bring food to his brothers who were on the battlefield. And he said, you're going to let this Philistine defy the living God? We can take him. Why? Because our God's bigger than their God. Our God is the real God. He's the only God. And we can do this because he's on our side. And so what happened? Man, we all know the story. David went up with no armor, with no sword, nothing. He took a sling and a couple of rocks and in front of everybody, just took the giant down with one sling and a stone. Boom, he fell down and the rout was on. The Israelites took the Philistines in that moment. Jonathan's paying attention to all of this because something similar happened in his life. We know the David and Goliath story, but do you know the Philistines and the Jonathan story? Jonathan was with his armor bearer at one point. This was months earlier, maybe a year earlier, and they're on the battlefield. And they had been isolated from the rest of the crew. It was just him and his armor bearer. And at one point, Jonathan looks at a Philistine outpost and he says, hey, we can take him, just the two of us. They might got like 20, 30 guys up there, but you know what? We got the living God on our side. Let's go. And the sign that we're going to take them is if they look at us from this Philistine outpost way up on a hillside, they're going to look at us and say, are you kidding me? Why don't you come up here and start fighting us? He said, that's going to be the sign that God's with us. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. These two guys climbed the hill and like 300 style took on these dudes, and it was a massive win. So Jonathan looks at David and what he did with Goliath and said, man, you know what? My soul is knitted to yours. Because we believe the same thing. We're about a bigger purpose than ourselves. And so they made a bond. There was an immediate bond and a pact, a covenant that they committed together with. And when it says that Jonathan took his robe and his tunic and his sword and his bow and his belt, this is what it means. That wasn't just clothing. That was royal gear. And what he's saying is, my right to the throne means less to me than your friendship. I'm willing to sacrifice that because I want your friendship more than I want power and the throne. Do you have friends in your life that look to you and say, I want your friendship more than I want my success in life, more than I want my beauty in life, or all sorts of other things? Do you have some people in your life that are so committed to you that they're willing to sacrifice other things? The way that you find that is not by going out and searching for friends. It's by finding a bigger purpose in your life that you can give yourself to. David went all in with God. He was about something bigger, and his life was so bold, so audacious, so crazy in his faith with God that he believed that God was able to do anything that God said he would do. And Jonathan had the same thing, and it bonded them together. And so if you want friends, be about something bigger than yourself. I love how C.S. Lewis worded it. Ready? C.S. Lewis said, that's why those pathetic people who simply want friends can never make any. Because the very condition of having friends is that we should want something else besides friends. He says, where the truthful answer to the question, do you see the same truth, would be, I don't see anything, I don't care about truth, I just want a friend. He says, no friendship can arise out of that. Though affection may, there would be nothing for the friendship to be about. And friendship must be about something, even if it were only enthusiasm for dominoes or white mice. Those who have nothing, this is so powerful, check this out. Those who have nothing can share nothing. And those who are going nowhere can have no fellow travelers. David and Jonathan were about something bigger than themselves. And that's what knitted them together. They got tight. Now, here's the crazy thing. Ready? When I went to college, I saw this play out. I was a baseball player. I considered myself a jock, and had a bunch of friends in the athletic arena for a little while. I was friends with them, but I found something really strange happen to me. The bonds between athletes can be strong, but the bond between believers, those who follow Jesus, can get even deeper. I had a friend who's from Sri Lanka call me out at the beginning of sophomore year and say, hey, I want you to pray with me because we're going to be about something bigger than ourselves here. This isn't about us. This is about what God wants to do on campus here at school. We're going to try to be a force of love of Jesus in the lives of guys on campus who are whittling away their lives on video games and womanizing and drinking and all that. Like, we want to care for them. We want to love them. We want to be there for them. And we are going to pray for them every week. And out of that formed a movement of guys, over 130, that got right with God, that started caring for each other and getting out of all sorts of addictions. And it started with a little prayer group. You know who's in the prayer group? All sorts of guys that I would never have ever imagined being friends with. I mean, some of these guys were computer geeks. Some of them were business majors. Some of them were socially awkward. And we're talking really socially awkward. But at the end of those 3 years, man, I had deeper friendships with them than I ever had with any of my sports friends. Why? It's because these guys were about something bigger. So here's the invitation for us. Are you about something bigger in your life? Can people look at your life and say, wow, They're doing something that goes beyond themselves. You know, they believe so much in what God is doing in this world that I see them serving their community. I see them active in their neighborhood. They're developing friendships with other people that are not like them at all because they believe that Jesus is alive and said and is who he said he was. Is that a part of your life? And if it's not, man, you can take some initial first steps. In this season with the coronavirus, we have some incredible opportunities to serve our community by partnering with N68 Hours of Hunger and by helping out with some of our social media and our live stream, which may be some of the only things that we have. I mean, we're connected in groups of people that don't have a lot of connections outside of Jesus, but their friendship bonds are getting deeper and deeper because of their faith. They're about something bigger than themselves. Is that true of your life? If you want friends, be about what God's about. And I guarantee you'll develop some incredible friendships in your life. So that's the first thing. Here's the second thing. We're invited to trade appearance for authenticity. Once you've discovered these friends, you're not just searching for them, you're discovering them. How do you develop them? Well, you trade appearance for authenticity. We live in an airbrushed, Pinterest perfect world, don't we? I mean, the upcoming generations, they feel like they have to portray themselves in a perfect way if they're going to be accepted by other people in order to get likes, right? On social media, Facebook, Instagram. They've got to have a perfect picture. I mean, nobody's posting a picture of themselves just waking up, you know, like drool's hanging out of their mouth, their hair's a mess, and they're like, oh, welcome to the day. You know, like nobody's doing that. They're posting pictures where they're perfect, life's going awesome, their vacation's all set. Like that's the kind of pictures we're getting. But that's not how you build friends. That's not how you build friends. Ready? I love this. I mean, going back to that moment where Jonathan took off his robe, his tunic, his sword, and his belt. What he showed in that moment was not like, this is my airbrushed Jonathan self. This is not my perfect king, heir to the throne kind of self. This is the raw Jonathan. I'm gonna be real with you, and I'm gonna show you who I am just as I am. And in that moment, you know you've got a friend or not. In Romans 12:9, this is in your notes, it says, let love be genuine. Let love be genuine. Some of us, we're afraid to have friends because our house isn't clean enough. Some of us are afraid to have friends because we don't feel like we appear well enough. We don't have kids that obey well enough. We've got a house that's crazy. We're not successful enough. And we just feel like those are the hindrances to us having friends. Wrong. Man, trade appearance for authenticity. Be real. Be real with who you are. And I tell you what, it's the real friends that accept you as you are. It's the not the airbrush, not the polish. It's the real, the authentic, the genuine. It's the I showed up in my ratty sweatpants kind of self. That's where real friendship is. And I'm telling you what, our culture right now is craving this. We're dying for this. One of the families in our church has a couple kids that go to the Hudson public schools. And just a couple weeks ago, the Hudson High School had something called Challenge Day. It was hosted by MTV, came in a couple teams, but they got a whole bunch of kids together and they made an opportunity for these kids to actually dialogue and interact with each other at a very real level. They're asking them, man, do you come from a broken home? Do you struggle with anxiety? Do you wrestle with depression? What do you think about your identity? And these kids, some of them that appeared, real tough, they're weeping. And an opportunity to finally get emotionally raw with other kids. Even teachers are just weeping their eyes out. We're dying for this. We're craving authenticity and realness. This is an opportunity for the church, guys. This is an opportunity for us as a family of faith to demonstrate what it looks like to be raw, what it means to be real, to be our true selves. Let love be genuine. Don't fake it anymore. Here's the third thing. We're invited to trade what am I getting for what can I give? What am I getting for what can I give? Man, some of us, we got to be honest about why we want friends. Why we want friends. Do we surround ourselves with the people that we surround ourselves to because we genuinely want to care for them? Like Jonathan, give up what we want is success to actually care for them and what they need? Are we emotionally tuned in to where people are? Or have we surrounded ourselves with the people that we have because they can give us something we want? You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to get real honest about that. We got to be real honest about that. I mean, when you show up at a party, who's the person you naturally gravitate towards? Is it the quiet person in the corner who doesn't really say a whole lot, not impressive, doesn't come from a whole lot of means? Or is it the loud person that's got a lot of means and can be the life of the party. Man, I think if we're honest in the room, we want to be seen with the person who has all the influence, right? Because when we do that, it looks better for us. We've got to ask ourselves, why are we developing friends? Is it because of what they give us, or is it because we genuinely want to be their friend and to be all in like Jonathan was? In 1 Samuel 23, 15 through 16, in the New Living Translation, this is what Jonathan did for David when David was in a moment of need. David could not offer Jonathan anything in this moment. He was on the run for his life. Jonathan's dad, Saul, was literally out to kill him because he was so jealous of David. Everyone's saying David's the right, king, and Saul just wanted to kill him. So this is what happened. 23:15, it says, one day near Horish, David received the news that Saul was on the way to Ziph to search for him and kill him. Jonathan went to find David. Check this out. He went out of his way, found David, and encouraged him. Stay strong in the faith. Stay strong in the faith. He went out of his way and he tuned into David's emotional needs in that moment. He said, this isn't about me anymore. I'm going to be about you, David. I'm going to surrender some of my convenience and what you can give me, and I'm just going to be there for you. I'm going to emotionally tune in to where you're at and be there for you. Some of the proverbs that go along with this, I had to just share this with some of you guys because this is just really great stuff. Some of us, again, we have friends because of what we need and not because of what we can give our friends. Are they useful to you? Or do you actually care about them? So Proverbs 25:17 says this, let your foot be seldom in your neighbor's house, lest he have his fill of you and hate you. I mean, that's a good word for some of us right now, right? Some of you, man, you message your friends too much. You're constantly texting, constantly calling. You know that person, like when you show up at church, they're like in your face and they're not saying anything. They're just looking at you with the needs. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be that person because nobody wants that person around. Nobody wants a needy friend. They want people that they can just be real with. So emotionally tune into other people's needs, not just use people for what you need. Proverbs 26:18 through 19 puts it this way, and this is for the guys in the room, I think, especially. Like a madman who throws firebrands, arrows, and death is the man who deceives his neighbor and says, ha, I'm only joking. I mean, for some of us guys in the room, it's really hard for us to be emotionally vulnerable. We'd rather just throw out a coarse joke and just like, kind of gruff, like, yeah, whatever, and just kind of, lace someone up for a second there because it's more comfortable, right? But have you emotionally tuned in to the needs of those around you? Man, I'm telling you what right now, there's some people that need to be emotionally tuned into right now. They're going through some really hard times. They're afraid. They're panicking. They're seeing what the news is telling them. The sickness is spreading. It's going all over the place. People are on lockdown. We don't know what the economy's doing, but it's crashing. Some people are losing their jobs. My neighbor just told me the other day that they had to lay off a couple of people, and they're not alone. Many people are under incredible duress in this moment. We have an opportunity in this moment to not think about our needs, but to focus on the needs of other people in front of us. So I asked a couple other friends in our church to reflect on this and what it means for them. And Josh, in this second testimony here, Josh had an opportunity to say, man, this season of coronavirus, it gives us a moment where we can actually tune in to other people's needs and not just be about ourselves. So check out what Josh had to say.
Especially now when people are hoarding and everyone's looking out for themselves. Now is the time, even more than ever, where we want to look to be like Jesus and to be sacrificing for those around us and looking for those small things where we can bless those around us. I think now, especially when maybe the opportunities are less than normal because we're not seeing people as much, those little things can mean all the more. And it's a good encouragement. Like, we can't meet on a normal basis. So in a way, all those things that we kind of put around ourselves is what it means to be the church, like the building and the services and all the activities, those are being stripped away, and it leaves us with what is the church, and it's the people. People who are searching for Jesus to get to know him better and encouraging each other to do the same, and we can still be that. So it gives us an extra chance to really dig into Jesus, to draw closer to him. And so we want to encourage you to do that, and we're encouraging each other to do that as well. So we love you guys. We miss you.
And we hope to see you in person at some point soon. But we know that that that's not guaranteed, and that in all things, God is still good.
He's greater.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much, Josh and Alyssa. We love you guys too. By the way, we're going to try to include more stories from our church because I don't want this to be just about me in this moment. We got to stay connected. And so in the weeks ahead, we're going to hear from more of our church family as we try to stay connected in all of this. But man, they're so right. Josh is so right. This is an opportunity for us to get beyond ourselves, to emotionally tune into those around us, and to really be connected at a friendship level there. So let's lean into that. I think one of the reasons we can be so tuned in to social media but disconnected from real friends is because social media is safe. We can have so many connections, tons of Facebook friends, tons of likes online, but yet be somewhat disconnected from other people around us. Is because it is safer in some ways to just comment online than it is to be vulnerable with someone else. And we have a little bit of a FOMO. The options around us in today's world are crazy. We've got so many options of what to do, where to be, what parties to be a part of, what person to talk to, who to connect with. And I think sometimes leaving all of our options open is one of the biggest hindrances to friendships, right? Because when you get invited to a party or you invite someone else to a party, it's a maybe. Not a absolutely I'm there. It's a maybe because there might be a better option. If we invite someone to church, they might be like, yeah, that sounds okay. But they might not show up. Why? Because they're keeping all their options open. Sherry Turkle, in her book, Reclaiming Conversation, described this as really a deep sense of FOMO. She said people are having a harder time leaning into genuine conversations because they're afraid to commit. They're afraid to really commit to friendships. But Proverbs 18:24 put it this way. A man of many companions, we could say a man of tons of Facebook followers, may come to ruin. But there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Man, we've got to be emotionally tuned in, but we've got to be committed to our friends as well. Don't just be satisfied with hundreds of Facebook friends. Tune in to some really key close friends around you and think about their needs and not just your own. All right, here's the other thing. Ready? Developing real friendships also means saying the hard things at times, not just the easy things. So we've got to trade. This is our third invitation. Trade saying what's easy for what's valuable. Trade saying what's easy for what's valuable. Some of you, you're afraid to say the hard thing to your friends because you're afraid of how they're going to receive it. You're afraid it might blow up the friendship, but they need some help. Because some of our friends right now, they're traveling in a direction that's harmful to them. And we need, as their friend, we need to tell them, man, you're not headed in a good direction here. One is the difference between a real friend and an imposter. Okay, so Proverbs 27:5-6 puts it this way. Better is open rebuke than hidden love. Wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. Proverbs 28:23 puts it this way. Whoever rebukes a person will in the end gain favor rather than the one who has a flattering tongue. Why? Why? Because, man, if you can say the hard thing, but you can say it in love, man, I know this is where you're going right now, but let me just tell you, I care about you so much, and where you're going is not healthy. You're harming yourself and harming others. In that moment, when you have the guts to say something like that, that's trustworthy. If I know I have a friend who's willing to come up to me and say, man, I love you, Scott, but I need to point something out. In that moment, I know he's not just going to flatter me at times just to get whatever he wants. This is not about him in that moment. He's about me. We've got to surround ourselves with people that can say the hard things to us. And for some of you in the room, you're like, yeah, absolutely. I love saying hard things to some people. Look, you got to pay attention to the last one a little bit because some of us, like your go-to is to say hard things to people, and you need to emotionally tune into where they are and just be there for them. But a lot of us in this room, we're afraid to maybe surround ourselves with people who are going to speak the truth because we just want to hear what we want to hear. You know what I'm saying? Surround yourself with people who are willing to say the kind of things that you need to hear. I just want you guys to know as a church family that Charity and I, committing to this church very early on, we said we're not going to do this. We can't start this church if we don't have accountability. We don't have guys that we trust who can lean into our life and speak truth into us. And so we've got a board of other pastors from around the New England area that have intimate access into the church's finances, into my personal finances, into my relationships, my relationship with Charity. They're asking me, how's your marriage? How's your parenting? They're asking me about the vision. I mean, so many different things. And I've given them intimate access, and they have called me out at times, given me hard truth, stuff that I didn't want to hear but needed to hear. And it's valuable. Our church in a lot of ways is as strong as it is today because of them. So who's in your life? Who can speak the hard truth? Who's in your life that can speak the hard truth? Here's the last thing that I'm going to invite you guys to, okay? We talked about not just searching for friends, but being a part of something bigger than yourself. And that's how you're going to find friends. We talked about being authentic, trading appearance for authenticity, saying the hard thing, not just the easy thing, emotionally tuning into where they are. I mean, if you're with me on this, you're thinking, man, this is a high bar. This is a high bar. I mean, surrounding ourselves with people like this is one thing, but being this kind of friend for others, man, that's a high bar. I don't know if I can do that. I mean, I'm so far from perfect. How can I possibly be that kind of friend for other people? That seems like the cost is really high. Well, the last thing that I want you to do is I want you, all of us, this is the last invitation, embrace Jesus's friendship. Embrace Jesus's friendship. And here's the game-changing aspect of this. We can only be the kind of friend that we need to be to others to have real great friendships when we've got the resources inside of us given by God himself to receive his friendship. Some of you have never heard this before, but did you know that the God of the universe is not mad at you? He's mad about you. Do you know that the reason he created you is not to just kind of dictate what you're going to do or make sure that you're standing in line? He's not a cosmic cop waiting to wave his baton. The God of the universe wants to know you. And he wants to be your friend. This is how Jesus, the Son of God, put it in John 15, 13 through 15. He said, "Greater love is no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends." Picture the God of the universe saying this. "You are my friends. If you do what I command, I no longer call you servants, because a servant doesn't know his master's business. Instead, I've called you friends. For everything that I've learned from my Father, I've made known to you." Jesus came incarnate, the Son of God, into this world, not to make sure that we were shaping up, but he came to lay his life on the line. We pictured Jonathan laying down his throne for David. Jesus did the same thing at a cosmic level so that every human being could be a friend of God when they place their faith and their trust in Jesus. Jesus said, "I don't want you to be servants where I'm just dictating what you're doing. I want you to know me. I want you to be my friend. I want you to tune into me because I love you." And he paved that way for us. At the very beginning, when God made Adam and Eve, there was a break in that relationship, a break in that friendship when Adam and Eve said, "No, I don't want to follow you, God. I want to do my own thing." Sin entered the world. It was missing the mark, not doing life the way that God intended us, not including God. And there was this massive rift between us and God, a huge chasm that only a perfect sacrifice, because the penalty of death, only the perfect sacrifice could reunite us. We could not do it on our own. We were separated forever. That was the trajectory of every human being, destined in a place called hell for all eternity. And yet God said, "I will not have it." And he sent his only son, Jesus Christ, into this world to be that perfect sacrifice for us, to live the perfect life that we should have lived, to die in our place. And then when he rose again, he defeated death and said, "I'm going to offer you life. I'm going to offer you friendship. I want you to belong in my family for all eternity. I want you to be my friends." When God stepped into the world in Jesus Christ and said, "I want to be your friends," we've been given every resource possible. That when we feel low and we don't feel like we got it in us to be friends to other people, we remember God gave it all for me. And I can be emotionally vulnerable. I can tune in to the needs around me. I'm not going to make this about me. I'm going to make this about other people. I'm going to be about something bigger than myself because the world needs more friends, guys. In this time of social distancing and the coronavirus, our world, our neighborhood, our city, your friends, they need friendship now more than ever. We're invited to be friends, guys. And so I asked two other ladies here, Alyssa and Ellen, to share a little bit of what the love of God means for them and their reflections, how difficult this social distancing is for them, but how they're leaning into it by trusting in God. And this is our third story from our church today. And so I want to invite you, lean in with them, follow them as they go into this. So check out their story.
Yeah, one thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is just how our worldview as Christians, knowing that God is unchanging and continually faithful, that worldview stands up against pandemics. It doesn't matter what's going on. Even if things get as bad as people are saying they're going to be, it doesn't change our worldview. It doesn't change that God is unchanging. And that's just been a great source of comfort, that even if those words, just even if, no matter what happens, God is still the same and he's still faithful.
Deuteronomy 31:8, the Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. God is in control. He is before us. He's gone through this. He knows how this will end. And him being in control is so much better than us being in control. He won't leave us or abandon us. And it also says to not be afraid and not be discouraged, which I really struggle with through this time. So that's just a really helpful verse to have on my mind, and to just be looking at and repeating throughout the day.
Man, for some of you, you're feeling more lonely than ever. Social distancing has kind of left its mark in this season. I encourage you, along with Ellen and Alyssa, lean into the love of God like never before. Press in to that time with him in prayer. And to help you with this, a couple times a week, we're going to open up an opportunity for all of us to pray together. Every Tuesday, every Thursday, we're going to have a Zoom meeting from 8 a.m. to 8:30, and I encourage you guys, if you want to lean into God together, it's going to be a great opportunity. Even if we're in different homes, we can be together to Zoom chat with God. And I encourage you, even beyond that, press into your relationship with God, lean into his word, and embrace his friendship. And when we do, I promise you, we'll have some incredible resources to give to a world that is in deep need right now. Let me pray for us, and then we're going to get into a couple of next steps. Let's pray together. Jesus, we love you. God, thank you so much for the perfect sacrifice, for laying your life down on the line just so that we can be friends. God, some of us in this room, we don't feel valuable. We don't feel like we got enough for people to want to be friends with us. Maybe some of us, they're struggling, like we're struggling, God, through our fears and the panic and the anxiety right now. God, my prayer in all of this is that you would remind us that even if we were the only person on planet Earth, you would still have died to set us free and to be friends with you forever. God, even if we're in some of our worst panic and fear right now, God, you say, cast all your cares on you, and then we will get peace. Peace that passes understanding. You promise, God, that no matter what happens in this world, you're with us, Jesus. You said you're going to be with us to the very end. And so I pray for all of my friends who are watching online that you would remind them they're not alone. They're not isolated. They have a church family who cares about them. And the God of the universe is for them. You're not against them. You're not mad at them, God. You're mad about them. This is your heart for us, God. So my prayer, Lord, is that you would show us that love in more tangible ways this week as we press into you and press into each other more now than ever. We love you. Thank you so much for this time. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Hey, I'm so glad you guys joined us today. A couple of last things for you. We are partnering with End 68 Hours of Hunger to provide food for those in need. Some of the schools in Nashua, a lot of the kids that go there were dependent on free or reduced meals during the week. And some of them are open, but even still, there's all sorts of people who are not getting the kind of food that they need. And with jobs crashing right now and some people getting laid off, they need our support. They're going to be looking to us and to others around the city to care for them now more than ever. So I encourage you guys, if you want to be a part of N68 Hours of Hunger to provide all sorts of essentials, post a comment in the comments below. Just say, man, I'm in. I want to help provide food. I want to be there for people in need. So I encourage you guys, lean in, say, man, I'm in, and we'll get you the resources that you need to help us partner and make a real difference, to be a friend to our city in this time of need. And I encourage you guys, even though we're not meeting in person, we still operate as a church based on the generosity of our church family. And so there's a couple different ways for us to continue that generosity as we give back to God a portion of what he's given us. We can give online by going to thewellnh.org/give, and you can can give a one-time gift there, or you can even automate your giving, or you can even text to give by typing in the $ and amount to text the number 97,000, 97000. Text the $ and amount to that number, and we'll be able to receive that donation. And with that, man, when we lean in together in this and continue to be generous, we will indeed be the friends that our city needs. We love you guys. Stay tuned this week in groups through Zoom. Stay tuned in prayer through Zoom. And just know that your pastor and your leaders as a church here at The Well, we're caring for you. We're praying for you. We're in this with you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.